Good morning. Can everyone please take their seats? Please ignore the alarm. Just ignore it. I saw some folks started to run all the way in the back. So ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats so we can get started. So ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is David Miller. I hail from the great city of Baltimore, Maryland. We are super excited to be assembled here this morning in Boston for COSEBOC 12 Gathering of Leaders. I will be one of the co-moderators, and I will now introduce my distinguished colleague, Reverend Liz Walker. So can you guys give her a round of applause? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Welcome, welcome. Don't ignore warnings. Just keep your eyes on the mayor. He's at the front table. If you see him get up, you get up. Follow him. I am honored and humbled to be here to welcome you officially to this Gathering of Leaders Conference and just to talk about our young men and all their promises. This is going to be a fabulous event. It already is, because I'm told there are 800 of you here. So give yourselves a big hand, because that's huge. We are honoring our young men and their promises. We are looking into their futures. We are speaking into their futures, and it is all good. I was a television news reporter, now I'm a preacher. I'm sort of the official welcomer of Boston. So we are glad you are here. Amen, amen. But I am the mother of two sons, one by birth, the other by marriage. One is successful and seems on the right track. The other is struggling to find himself. I care deeply for both of them, and I will do everything I can to support them. And that is the way I feel this morning. Our young people need our support. You know, when I was growing up, my mother, as she grew older, she was a school teacher, and as she grew older and kind of got her mind started wandering a bit, we would walk through the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, where I was born, and she would see a kid, any kid, and she'd say, "Didn't I teach you?" And I got embarrassed because she didn't teach all these people she saw. But now I know what she meant, because all of these young people belong to us. They are ours, at least for now. We may not have birthed them, but we have a responsibility to support them, to encourage them, to pray for them. So I'm just as proud as any mama would be this morning to see all these young men stand up and go through this rite of passage, because it takes all of us to help them get where they are going. I want to make sure that we get off to a right start, and so if you don't mind, I'm going to suggest we all take one deep breath in and let it out, and let's pray. Creator God, we thank you for this gathering today. We ask you to bless each one of us and all that we bring to this moment. We especially pray for our young people and the many and varied gifts that they possess, their energy and courage, their sense of justice and self-control, their desire to lead and willingness to listen. We pray for them all of these young people growing up in this unsteady and confusing world. We ask, Lord, that you not shield them from difficulty, but that you give them strength to face it. Not that you protect them from making mistakes, but that they may be able to learn from them. We know their lives will not be easy. They have not been easy thus far. But we pray that you give them a steadfast sense of courage and a fierce resilience, that no matter what happens, they're going to be all right. they are going to be all right, not just for the rest of this event, but for the rest of their lives. So God, we ask that you strengthen the roots that ground them and, oh yes, give them wings to fly. In the name of all that we hold holy, let the people of God together say amen. 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 Now let's give God some praise this morning. Before we get to the event of the morning, and that is to have our young men walk before us in their rite of passage, we have wonderful people who have taken a big role in getting these young men to where they are at this point. And I want now to introduce to you the man who is largely responsible for this event and most of the other far-reaching good events that happen in this city. He is a friend. He is a good man. He is, His Honor, the Mayor of the City of Boston, Mr. Marty Walsh.
How about a round of applause for Reverend Walker? She is an incredible spiritual leader in our city and does so much. I want to welcome everyone here today from all over the country. This is so exciting. I know when I was talking to Conan Harris, who you'll hear in a few minutes, he was talking to me the other day about the conference. He goes, it's going to be big. And I said, okay, that's good. I know it's going to be big. He goes, no, it's going to be real big. And I walked in the room. I'm like, it's going to be big. So I want to congratulate everyone here today. I want to thank Conan and my Brother's Keeper Boston chapter. We started it, President Obama, when he announced it. He actually was at a fundraiser here in Boston, raising money for the Democratic Party, and he was talking to the funders in the room that day about creating this new program. And I was listening to him. I happened to be there, and he didn't have a name necessarily for it at that point. And I went in the back and I said, Mr. President, whatever you start, we're in Boston. And then when he made the announcement for my Brother's Keeper, I was invited down to D.C., and we are all in my Brother's Keeper. It's an incredible program here in our city and around the country. I don't know if anyone's here from Philly, but Michael Nutter was talking about how he's going to have the best one, all this stuff. I said, I'm gonna have a better one than you, Michael, so don't worry about it. Then he left, so what's going on? And you got lucky in the Super Bowl, by the way. But anyway, we'll see this year. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Patriots. No, honestly, all kidding aside, thank you, Philly, for being here. Thank you for every city in America that's represented here. Thank you, my own city here, Boston. There's some great people. You're going to hear for some unbelievable speakers in a little while today on the great work that's going on. And when they come up here and they talk, it's not words, it's actually action. And many of the people that are going to be up here at this podium talking a little while have been doing this work a long time. And it's in Boston, it's coming together. To the young men here, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for coming to the city. I know that you're going to have an event some time later on at Suffolk University and do some great things. Thank you for sharing and helping us, making sure we continue to move forward in America. We're also joined by the superintendent that's here, Dr. Chang, Ron Walker, Ron Dorsey, Chief of Education. We have Boston Public School students here who are through Becoming a Man program, BPS 10 Boy Initiative, and Sociedad Latinas here. I want to thank, hold on now. Thank you very much, Boston Fire Department. Here we go. We're all set now. I want to welcome everyone to the 12th annual gathering, and we're excited to bring this back home where it started in 2007. This gathering is all about momentum, as everyone in this room knows. It's about recognizing the success of young men of color and the success of cities that are linked forever. They are all one and the same, something that's really important. Here in Boston, We like to be thorough here in Boston. So anyway, as I was saying, in our school system, we have 56,000 kids enrolled in our public school system. The vast majority of those kids are kids of color. Nearly 40% of the kids in our school district are Black and Hispanic boys. They are scholars who help us understand our past and better understand our future and build our future. The kids that go to our school are artists who tell the story of our cities and often tell the stories of their own lives. They are leaders who are ready to take our communities to new heights. These are the young people that are working are ready to lift up our city. So how do we make sure nothing slows down the momentum of our young people? How can we make sure that they know that they are embraced and empowered by their schools, their neighborhood, and by their government, which is really important today? In Boston, we've taken the approach based on mentorship and concrete opportunities. My Brother's Keeper, Boston, has been a powerful engine of change. So far, we've added thousands of mentors and thousands of summer jobs to make sure that young boys of color have the support that they need. We've created powerful second chance programs like Operation Exit, teaming up with the building trades, and making sure not just a program to get somebody into the building trades, but to make sure that young people get placed into the building trades. And many of the cranes that you saw when you landed in Boston yesterday or you came today and when you're driving around, there's probably a good chance that on those jobs we have young people from Operation Exit working on those jobs. We're working with professional pathways to create real opportunities so young people understand the importance that their life is worth it and that they can get real jobs and make real productive decisions in their life. We're partnered with Ruth Cause to set up a course for improving the outcomes for Black and Latino boys. We've launched a program, a mini-grant program, to support grassroots organizations making real differences with boys of color. That's through Conan Harris's shop with My Brother's Keeper. And really, not the big organizations, but the small organizations that are on the ground doing the work that sometimes get overlooked and not recognized. We have our high school graduation rate climbing at an all-time high here in the city of Boston, and we can celebrate that, but we also have 25% of our kids that aren't graduating high school. So we have work to do there. And I expect that these trends to continue thanks to initiatives like Becoming a Man, 10 Boys and Success Mentors. I know that Boston and in our city, our success has sprung from a culture of teamwork. We've brought more people into the conversation, people that have been kind of talking on the sides, trying to bring them into a larger conversation. We have great partners like the Boston Public Schools, our local businesses, our business community, who employ over 7,000 young people in the summer in their jobs in the private sector. Our colleges, we have 26 college universities in the city of Boston. Most of them are partners with us at the table, seeing how they can help. We're blessed to have local leaders like Conan Harris, Ron Dorsey, Chief of Education, and other folks that are working. Thaddeus Miles, who you're going to hear in a few minutes, doing some incredible work. What I've learned about what the ambassadors mean to this work. They've shown us that this isn't strictly about young men of color, but it's about the soul of our city, something that we need to continue to move forward and continue to work on. We're excited to share this progress with all of you and learn about what's working in our cities. I became mayor in 2014. Not long after I became mayor, the incidents in Ferguson happened. Then we had incidents around the country. And I found myself calling all the mayors of the different countries asking how I can help. And it made us in Boston take a look at ourselves and really think about what's the root cause of what's happening in this country. Some of it's uncertainty, some of it's fear. The newspaper talks about violence and anger. There was anger there's no question about it. But I thought about how do we in Boston and how do we become a national leader in moving forward. So when President Obama put the call out for My Brother's Keeper, I stepped up. Because I could hear in his voice that first time he spoke about a program that he was going to create, which eventually became My Brother's Keeper, he was talking from his heart. He was talking from his experience. He was talking about the young people in America that didn't know where to go. Young people of color just didn't know where to turn right or left or didn't have any guidance in a lot of ways. That doesn't mean they didn't have guidance at home. They certainly had guidance at home. But I think they felt that their government and the society has failed them. Together, here, we are building coalitions of American cities dedicated to the success of young men. It is our obligation, whether I'm the mayor of Boston or I'm not the mayor of Boston, it's my obligation and all of us in this room and many other people in our cities and cities across America to continue working on solutions, continue to move forward, continue to make sure that the young men that are here today have opportunities, continue to make sure that the young men that aren't here today, that are hanging at H Block today in Boston, that are hanging over in Bromley Heath Housing Development today, that are hanging in the cities that really seem like they have lost. We need to make sure, collectively, all of us together, that we find them, reach out to them, and let them know there's another way. I want to thank you all for being here today. I hope you enjoy the city, and I know that you're going to have a very great conference. So thank you for doing what you do every day. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several other speakers. I'm going to give you all of their names, and then they'll come in this order. I can tell you, because I know each of them, that they are all passionate men. They are all men who indeed, as the mayor said, they not just talk the talk, they walk the walk. I am introducing in the order that they will appear Superintendent Chang of the Boston Public School Department, Thaddeus Miles, who is the board chair of My Brother's Keeper, Conan Harris, who is the director of My Brother's Keeper, Olga Price, who is the board chair of the coalition, and then Ron Walker, who is the executive director of the coalition, and they will come in that order. Mr. Chang? Dr. Chang.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Walker, and thank you, Mayor Walsh, for your comments. Mayor Walsh has an unwavering commitment for young people in this city, and I often joke Mayor Walsh is the second most popular man in the city after David Ortiz. When he walks into a classroom, the young people freak out. And I will often whisper to a young person, hey, is that the first time you met the mayor? And they literally tell me, no, I saw him last weekend at the park. He is with young people all the time, and you could see the love he has for young people each and every day. I want to thank Ron Walker, Dr. Spooner, the rest of the COSEBOC organizing team for choosing Boston, the birthplace of education, to have this conference again. I want to thank the BPS team, Dr. Makiba McCurry, Dr. Colin Rose, school committee member Alex Oliver Davila, all the principals, headmasters, all our teachers, our educators for being here, and most importantly to the young men from Boston Public Schools for being here. Thank you. I wanted to just take a few moments to do some reflections to the adults in this room, and then some thoughts for the young people in this room. I want to first start off with the adults. Thank you for making time to come to Boston this week. This work that we all do is not easy. Two of the key themes of this conference are liberation and empowerment. But I think as leaders, as people who do this work, and people who have done this work for a long time, we don't always feel liberated, and we don't always feel empowered. In reality, we often feel the need to be agreeable and compliant, to get along, to get a seat at the table. And why is this? It's not because we lack courage to challenge the status quo, but it's because often at an early age, by those who love us the most, we are told to be compliant and to be agreeable, because we need that for our future individual success and sometimes even our survival. Now, being agreeable and being compliant as youth usually translates to good grades, a good reputation, but as an adult, that often translates to lacking agency and not being courageous. I don't think I understood that until much later in life. And I have to fight that tendency each and every single day. I literally stare at the mirror in the morning, and I say to myself, you gotta be courageous, Tommy. But rooms like this affirm and sustain me. This morning, I did not have to wake up and look at the mirror because I knew I was coming here. The reality is that it is easier to be courageous when you know you rolled deep. And so thank you for showing up to all of the... It's true. Thank you for showing up today. To all adults, thank you for showing up. Again, this work is not easier, but when there's rooms like this, it does make it feel easier. Now, to all the young men, you are future innovators, scholars, entrepreneurs, civic leaders, educators. You'll be taking care of us when we can't take care. You'll be taking care of us when we can't take care of ourselves. And we are depending on you to solve some of the most vexing and troubling challenges we have as a society. Issues such as racial injustice, gun violence, climate change, opportunity gaps. Unfortunately, I don't think my generation is going to solve these problems, but I have great hope that your generation will, because I have seen your generation already lead. It is your generation that will truly move the needle and help us hopefully get closer to the American dream, that all men are created equal. And it's a dream that has never been realized. So, to all the young people in this room, I want you to know that you come from rich cultures of resiliency. And there's greatness within all of you. I see it in the classrooms, I see it throughout the city, I see it throughout this country. You are already leaders. So, in the next 2 days, continue on your leadership journey, refine your core values, find even more voice to your lived experiences. You will need that voice, because when you get a seat at that table, you will need that voice. You will need your values. And as a friend and colleague that often says, if you don't get a chair, find that folding chair and squeeze yourself in. And if there's no folding chairs, scream from the outside. Whatever the case may be, your values, your voice are critical for your individual successes and the future success we will have as a country. Thank you so much. Now, I have the opportunity to introduce Thaddeus Miles, a friend, a colleague, and ally in the work. Thanks.
I just need a moment to look at this sea of blackness and the beauty that I see right here. It's an amazing view. Welcome to Boston, my brother's keeper city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for taking up the challenge, not just around my brother's keeper, but to also have authentic conversations about race and social justice in this city. I am Thaddeus Miles. I'm the co-chair of MBK Boston. I am the chair of BAM, Becoming a Man, and you'll see 100 of our young men walking down this aisle in a few minutes. But in my day job, I am the director of community services for mass housing. But I stand here at this moment as a black man of a black son and a brand new grandchild that I'm really loving. He turned 1, and he's already telling me what to do. And as a single father, I definitely understand the challenges that my son will be facing. Mass housing values our commitment to cultivating leadership among our youngest and most vulnerable residents. Our belief is that our opportunity for community building, self-reflection, and teamwork will support those vulnerable qualities into ones of future leaders. Today we come together to learn from and with each other. Today we come together to uplift each other. Today we come together to make sure that we do better for our young black and brown boys and men. As a father and a grandfather, I leave you with 2 quotes by Benjamin Mays that every black person and young man should keep in their tool belt. First, every man and woman is born into the world to do something unique and something distinctive. If he or she doesn't do it, it will never be done. Second, the tragedy of life is often not in our failure, but rather in our complacency. Not in our doing too much, but rather in our doing too little. Not in our living above our abilities, but rather in our living below our capabilities. Let's make sure that we keep believers in the lives of our young black and brown men and boys. And I'd like to introduce you to a believer, a person that's helped lead my brother's keeper in this city, a person that I love and respect, a person that's always there for the black men and boys in this city, Conan Harris.
Wow, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight. Beautiful, beautiful sight, you were right. Before I go any further, I just want to say, MBK board, can you please stand up, please? Everybody here that's from the MBK board, I want to recognize them. It's so important for me to do that. This work doesn't get done by myself. It only happens through the collective. And it's so important to recognize folks that do this work every day. And when we made the call to build out my brother's keeper, they picked up the phone and was ready to get to work as soon as possible. So I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. I want to also thank our mayor, who has decided to take up the challenge, but has decided each and every day that this city deserves to do better. And so we'll go back and forth and challenge one another on how that gets done. But ultimately, we come to the middle because we both understand that we went somewhere, we're doing well, but we got a long way to go. And we need to make sure we're putting in that effort every day. So I thank you very much, Mayor. I also want to recognize our president of Suffolk University, President Kelly. I thank you very much for this partnership. As you'll see the young men that are walking through this Young Men Passage coming up, one of the things that is so important is to recognize our partners. Is that President Kelly came and said she wanted to be a partner. And she didn't come and say, pay me. She didn't come and say, here go the price. She said, where do I need to sign up? So we thank you very, very much. Our young men are large there, and they're doing great work there. Thank you. My brother, my big brother, I remember being in City Hall in my office, and Brother Ron Walker gave me a call and said, brother, I want to sit down and have a meeting with you. And you know, when Ron Walker calls, we pick up the phone. He's our big brother, and we love him so. And so I picked up the phone, and we sat down, and he said, brother, I'm really thinking about doing this year's COSEBOC in Boston. It isn't all clear, it isn't all signed, but Boston is a city where we started. And we want to make sure that Boston sees our progress and where we're going. And I said, brother, let's do it. Let's get this work together. The beauty of us experiencing this work together is because it starts in our heart, and then it comes out. This is not nothing about data. This is not nothing. The data's all there. We all know the numbers. This is about understanding what's in our heart to make sure that our young people know that we're standing up for them. That's what this is about. The beauty of this room is that it is full. People came here today because they wanted to make sure that they're doing their part. So I thank you. I want to give you a round of applause. Seat at the table. Seat at the table. I was sitting in my seat when our Dr. Chang talked about that seat at the table. And I want to just say this. We don't need to get in their seats. We create our own. I say this to you because if we're waiting for other people to put a table so we can sit down, we'll never get there. We create our own. Brother Ron Walker, thank you for creating this table so we can create our own seats. I thank you very much. You guys have a blessed day.
Bienvenidos. Es con mucho orgullo que me presento ante ustedes como la primera mujer latina presidenta de la Junta Directiva para darle la bienvenida al encuentro anual de líderes de COSEBOC en Boston. En nombre de la Junta los invito a este evento y les agradezco su apoyo a esta organización y lo que es más importante, su compromiso con la liberación, el empoderamiento y la educación de nuestros niños y jóvenes de color. For those who understood what I said, can you raise your hand? Amen. Good for you. This is a place where we will celebrate diversity and bilingualism. For those who did not understand, that's okay. I'll translate for you. Okay, I'll give you the English version. I'm honored to come before you as the first woman Latina chair of the board of directors to welcome you to the 12th annual COSEBOC Gathering of Leaders in Boston. Thank you. On behalf of the board, I welcome you to this event and thank you for your support of the organization, of our executive director, Ron Howard, and more importantly, for your commitment to the liberation, the empowerment, and the education of boys and young men of color. As a very proud mother of a boy and a girl of color, I would argue there is no more important time for us to come together to focus not just on the academic success of our children of color, but on their social and emotional development, their safety, and their well-being. We have to remember that a promising future for our children and their liberation, empowerment, and education also can't happen without their health, both their physical and emotional health. In too many cases, basic health and mental health needs go unnoticed or unmet. Learning is undermined, futures become bleak. The reality is that our passion for the affirmative development for all of our children, whether white, brown, poor, English speaking, or undocumented, is not shared across all parts of this country. We must come together as organizations, sectors, systems, cities, counties, villages, to take joint responsibility for the social, environmental, and fiscal conditions in which we live, learn, work, and play, conditions that our young people did not create, but that serve to foster or hinder their own progress. As a public health professional and a behavioral health expert, I implore us to demolish those professional, personal, and political silos that separate us and take a stand for the success and well-being of our country's young people, especially those most vulnerable and invisible. I am so proud of COSEBOC's many accomplishments over the last 12 years, how it has been a vocal advocate around the unique needs and strengths of young men of color. This is an organization where at its heart, at its core, is ensuring equity, empowerment, and opportunity for young people by investing in you, in the development of leaders like you who fight for the success of our boys and young men of color across the United States on a daily basis. But our progress, our goals, and even our values have come under attack. And we must continue to stand together to advance the principles of social justice that have been passed down from generation to generation. Now is the time to embrace the wisdom of the old, the innovation of the young, and to use all of the tools available to us to demand the kind of future that all of our children are entitled to. Thank you. COSEBOC has been a champion, bringing us together as villagers, to protect and nurture our greatest investment, our most prized gifts, our youth. But COSEBOC cannot continue in this role without us. It counts on the generous contributions of donors, both philanthropic and individual donors, to continue to make a difference, school by school, district by district, state by state. So I'm here to make a plea. We need your support now more than ever. We're excited right today at the opening to announce the new COSEBOC Defending the Village campaign, which will propel the organization forward and allow us to reach new regions of the country, including 3 new regional gatherings in Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Texas in the coming months. We have stood and we stand daily for the success of our young people. We must do the same for COSEBOC. We have set a bold goal of $50,000 that we hope to reach by the end of this gathering. That's right. That's right. We need to cue up our a little visual. If we each in this room with 800 people gave $66 each, we would reach our goal today. But let me be clear, I won't minimize that. I know that for many of you, that may be too much. I am not going to minimize that, but no gift is too small. We welcome gifts of all kinds and sizes. Your support would go a long way towards bolstering this movement. We'd like to ask you to go right now. You know how we ask you to put away your phones? Well, I'm gonna ask you to take out your phones. Take out your phones. Let your phones be your friend. They're gonna be our friend. Go to the GoFundMe page and search COSEBOC, Defending the Village. We launched this last night, and as of in the last 12 hours, we have raised $600. Please consider giving now, and even if you can't now, bookmark the page, put it on your Facebook, share it on all kinds of social media. You know I don't even know what they are, so I can't even say them. But we're going to keep you appraised throughout the conference of the progress, because it's our progress, and it's the way we need to demonstrate our support of this organization that has really been behind us and with us in this battle. Before I get off the stage, I really do need to acknowledge a couple of people. First, I want to acknowledge the phenomenal Ron Walker for his leadership. His friendship, he has made this his life's mission, and we are so eternally grateful. His vision, his grit is just really unsurpassed. We also want to really thank from the bottom of our hearts his hardworking staff, particularly Dr. Sandra Spooner. We know that no one person can do this alone, right? I also want to thank our dedicated board members, and if the board members would, whoever is in the room, just really stand, and we'd like to really acknowledge you. Please rise. Thank you. For sharing your gifts and talents, your time and energy, and how much you contribute. They don't go unnoticed. And finally, to our diverse and committed partners and to our generous funders for all that has gone into not just organizing this event, but for the perseverance that all have shown through the many ups and downs that are inevitable with a movement as big, as important, and as this one. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the leader of our movement, Ron Walker.
Good morning, everyone. Now, at the end of my message, I'm going to do a little little call and response, because I want the person way, way in the back, the person I'm looking at right now, to hear what I'm going to say. and we're going to all do something together. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today. This is momentous. This is history. This is breakthrough. Gathered over 800 people, over 200 young men, coming together to do this movement work. This is not moment work. This is movement work. And I'm so thankful that I can't even express how thankful I am. It is because of the ancestors who came before me that I stand here. It's because of Solomon and Dolores Walker, my two parents, who instilled in me the value of education, although they were limited in their opportunities to get one. So I'm very proud as their son to bring forth today a few words. First of all, I want to thank all the partners. Like Brother Conan said, I came in and I said, man, let's do something. And he was ready, willing, and able. And he stands tall. You can tell by his message that he stands tall. You can tell by his message that he's liberated and he's empowered. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Thaddeus, who always also equally strong in purpose, conviction. This is the kind of folks that we all need to be around. As my sister Gloria Latson Billings, they're part of my squad now. And if you remember the words, is Sister Gloria here? Part of my squad, because you can't do this work by yourself. And if you're working on movement work, there's so many folks who want to distract you from doing movement work. So there's got to be folks who got your back. I want to thank my board and all that they're doing, this campaign. I believe we can raise this $50,000, don't you? Because when you think about, I think a lot of folks sometimes get twisted and confused. They see this big, grand hotel, say, well, COSEBOC must have money. How else could they afford to do this? Well, I'm going to tell you, we couldn't. But because of the generosity of our sponsors and all the sponsors that are listed here, GE Foundation, Liberty Mutual, Nellie Mae, Boston Compact, Holland and Knight, Eastern Bank, the Boston Foundation, Red Sox Foundation, Better Lesson, Minority Caucus, SRI, Forward Promise, Campaign for Black Male Achievement. Let's give them a round of applause, please. When this vision, because I'll say this, we all got a vision. It just depends on whether you want to act on it. We all have an assignment. It just depends on whether you want to do it or not. And my vision, for folks who have heard me talk before, came from a former student of mine, Kevin Johnson, now incarcerated for life for allegedly murdering a drug dealer in Philadelphia. Kevin was in my 9th grade class, bright, brilliant, looked a lot like a lot of these young men you'll see. When I left Philadelphia in 1978, come to Boston, I said, Kevin, stay on the right road. He said, Mr. Walker, I got it. Don't worry about me. I'm cool. Years later, I get a letter when I was principal in Cambridge in the year 2006 from the penitentiary, upstate Pennsylvania. Opened the letter up. He said, Mr. Walker, you won't believe, you may have forgotten who I am, but this is Kevin writing you this letter. And I'm sorry I'm disappointing you. I'm incarcerated for something I did not do, life without parole. But Mr. Walker, I'm still getting an education, and I'm working in the penitentiary school. Kevin and I have been writing for nearly 28, 30 years. I got a call in 2006, and the call was from the principal of the penitentiary school where Kevin Johnson was working as an inmate assistant. And that principal said, you don't know me, but because of the encouraging and urging of Kevin Johnson, I would like to invite you to come to give the message to the 100 men getting their GEDs. So I flew to Philadelphia, drove upstate, because all these prisons are always upstate, and drove and saw Kevin Johnson for the first time in 20 years. After we shed tears and broke bread, I presented a message to 100 black and brown men. But I followed a young man who was the valedictorian. After I heard what he said, my message changed. Because he said the following. He said, although I'm incarcerated, although I'm a felon, I may never see the light of day, I'm free because I'm educated. And that message was my tipping point. That message was my call to action. That was the Creator saying, now is your time. Stand up. Time for you to do something. And so, you know, at that age where many of us were retiring, because I was 60 years old when I got that call. But I remember Moses was 80. And he had 5 excuses. I didn't have 5. And so I answered the call 12 years ago, and COSEBOC was born. And 2 things happened. One, Rosa Smith, who was president of the Schott Foundation at the time, didn't know me from a can of paint. I went in and said, Rosa, I got a vision. Can you help me? She says, after I said and tried to convince her, he said, I'm going to give you $10,000 to see what you can do with this. And that $10,000 was a start. With so little, can grow. That's why we're asking you for $66. And so from that, we went to Wheelock College. And I met somebody else. And this person let me come into her office. She said, after I said what I wanted to do, he said, I want you to do what you do here, Wheelock College in Boston. And I want you to do it for 3 years, because Wheelock College at the time was teaching teachers, mostly white, to go into the inner city. He said, I want them to know how to work with black and brown boys. And so that person is here today. She's the liberator, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. Jackie Jenkins Scott, would you please come? Let me just read this, and then if Jackie wants to say a couple of words. COSEBOC Coalition of Schools Educating Boys of Color, 2018 COSEBOC Liberator Award, in recognition of your support in advancing the affirmative development of boys and young men of color. Jackie Jenkins Scott, May 2018.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm usually not without words, but I am without words this morning. It's an honor to be here with you. We all stand on great shoulders. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those who paved the way for us. And my only message is we all do what we can do. And I had an opportunity, I was put in a role, and I knew that this man was going to do great things for black and brown boys. And I was honored and privileged to have just a very small role. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you. Now, as I close, I just want to say a couple things, and then we're going to bring my good brother Kamal Patel to the front as we begin to prepare to begin for the Walk of Integrity. Just a couple things that I want to remind myself to say. One, if you look at the cover of your program book that was done by design, that's a cover that has liberators on it. There's a difference between schooling and education. Those who've heard me say this before. Schooling is for compliance. Education is for liberation. I don't know about you, but I don't want to comply. I don't know about you, but I want to be liberated. The cover of this book, by intention, has great liberators. Dolores Huerta, who fought for immigrant migrant rights. Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells. If you know your history, research those folks. But they're walking liberators among us right now. And one of the things I want to always end, and I'm going to ask you to stand when I say a question I'm going to pose to you. Where are my liberators? If you are a liberator, and stand up and say, I am. Where are my liberators? Where are my liberators? Where are my liberators? Thank you very much. Now, it gives me a great deal of pleasure and honor. This young brother, he came up to me, was it 9 years ago, brother? That's right. And said, hey, Brother Walker, I want to work with you because there's more we can do. And with Brother Kamal Patar, we have our Rite of Passage program that we did successfully in Philadelphia. And Brother Kamal, Brother Boomy Samuels over here. Brother Boomy, raise your hand. There we go. Brother Boomy Samuels. And so now is the time, and Kamal, you take over from here. Do what you do.
Greetings, COSEBOC family. It's an honor to be standing with you this 12th annual gathering of leaders. And in the spirit of our Creator and our ancestors, I open up with our mission, which is to guide our young men to actualize their missions. And today we set the stage with the walk of integrity, where you'll see our young men in the demonstration of their walk, the attributes, the qualities, and their developing missions start to make a declaration today. And that declaration is to be men. That declaration is to be men of honor, to be men of integrity, to men that will make a difference within our families and our communities and our world. And in order to do that, we would like to do that in a very indigenous way. Because we recognize once we were brought here, we were robbed of many of the aspects of our culture and our identity, and stripped away from our rituals and our norms, those activating practices that empower us, those activating practices that had us living as liberated, unified, cohesive communities with structures and norms to be able to deal with our successes and to continue to work through our challenges and our wounds. So to open up, we would like to introduce Benkadi Dance and Drum. Benkati Dance and Drum Troupe. Let's give it up, and as we welcome our 2018 12th Annual Gathering of Leaders Young Men Passage Initiates. Let's give it up for Boston's own Benkati Dance and Drum. Yes, Benkati Dance and Drum Troupe. We thank them for helping us create the ambiance. In the village, the drums and the dance told the story. It helped to represent the highest ideals of a community's values. Each of these rhythms are sacred and they have meaning. They're played intentionally for invoking a certain type of a presence. And so today, in honor of our young men making this declaration and making this statement through their walk of integrity in a tradition of a processional, coming into a community context where the love is here, the affirmation is here, the strategies are being developed, but they're not the only ones that are going through an initiation. Educators are on a path too, that they have to touch their authentic selves. Deep speaks to deep. The deeper you are able to go, the deeper you're able to impact someone's lives. We're here to put our hands on our own pulse as well, as celebration, as affirmation, and as well as really looking at some of those wound stories that keep us from being able to throw out our life preservers. Some of us are hiding behind our titles. Some of us are hiding behind curriculums, and we never touch the heart and the soul of a young man that we serve. So we're talking about true liberation. Yes, we have conditions outside of us that impact some of the fear that we have. And in rites of passage, what these young men are experiencing, that sacred tradition that marks the transition into transformation and the becoming of someone, of becoming a mission, of becoming in alignment with your purpose. That's what we're here to do, and that's what these young men are here to. Ako Ben, ready for action. Ako Ben, ready for action. Right, Ako Ben is the war horn. It's the call to action. Right? It is calling us to be dutiful. It's calling us to be responsible. It's calling us to take our mission in the high cause of our community and to be able to go back and contribute our gifts, our talents, our purpose for the betterment of the community. So our declaration here today and the statement that we're making is coming from antiquity to the present. We are people of the past, living in the present, moving towards the future. Ako Ben, ready for action. Ako Ben, ready for action. What time is it? Ako Ben time. What time is it? Ako Ben time. Brothers, are we ready? Ako Ben ready. Warriors, are we ready? Ako Ben ready. Who are we? Men of the past, living in the present, moving towards the future. Who are we? Men of the past, living in the present, moving towards the future. What hood we rep? Manhood. What hood we rep? Brotherhood. What hood we rep? Manhood. What hood we rep? Brotherhood. Minute by minute, hour by hour. As we know our story, we know our power. Okay, let's procession out to Los Bomberos de Loíza. With the bomba tradition, we're gonna processional out. Minute by minute, hour by hour. COSEBOC family, let's give it up for our young men. When you see them tomorrow, I can promise you that their statements, their oath, and their ability to be able to charge our community will be their task. We support them, we can do better than that. Come on, let's give it up for them. Brother Barnett, lead them back out.